Hello, everybody, and welcome to Dining for Women's Google Hangout. Today we have Laura Haight, who is the Communications Director for Dining for Women and the technical guru on this Google Hangout. We also have with us Joanna Sherman of Bond Street Theatre. She is the founder and the artistic director of this group. Bond Street Theatre is the featured program for August for Dining for Women. Bond Street Theatre was founded in 1976, and the main focus of this group is creative programming to inspire and educate, to address human rights issues, to heal communities affected by poverty and conflict, to promote the arts in shaping a peaceful future. We are very excited to have her here with us and a special guest. And so, Joanna, go ahead, tell us about the Creative Arts Prison Program in Afghanistan.
Oh, thank you so much, Veena. It's certainly, first of all, I want to thank all of the women from Dining for Women for allowing this to be possible, because this is going to be such an amazing gift to the women in the prisons in Afghanistan. Just starting, first of all, our first one is going to be our model program in the one in Herat, and then hopefully this will be so successful it will take off and be a wonderful program for the women in all of the prisons in Afghanistan. So I have with me here Monira Hashemi, who is the director of the Samoric Theater Group, which is going to be, we're partnering with to do the program in Herat in the women's prison. And we worked together before in the women's prison, did a show for the women. This is the first time they ever saw theater, and you'll see this, you'll see some images from this, and you'll see also, if you see the video, you'll see some of that. And it just made a huge impression on the women to see, first of all, women performing, because performances are not usual, but women are not allowed to, but they are allowed to perform for other women. So it's totally safe for the women to perform for other women in the prison and bring them information that they would not ordinarily have about their rights and how they might organize themselves. So as you might know, the situation of justice in Afghanistan is really turned against women. It's a man's world, for sure. Maybe everywhere, but especially in this particular situation, they don't have access to justice. The testimony of a woman is half of that of a man. And for situations of something like rape, it's the testimony of a woman should count at all, but it has to be witnessed. The 95% of the girls that are in prison for what they call moral crimes, zina crimes. And that means that they have either run away from home, run away from an abusive family where they're treated badly or beaten or abused in some way. And the fact of them running away from home implicates them as having commit a moral crime. And they give the girls a virginity test, whether they give them a virginity test to make sure that they are virgins. And it's a disastrous system because, of course, they're running away from a very bad situation. They can also, the second most common reason is the crime of having been raped. And this is something that we encountered quite a bit in, the situation we were in Herat, and also in the prison in Kabul and the prison in Jalalabad. The crime of being raped puts you in prison. And I think we have some example of that particular situation in the prison in Herat.
Hi everybody. Yes, I would like to tell this story because when we have been working in Herat prison, there were lots of women that when they found out about our work, they were really interested to tell their stories, to be heard, because rarely it goes out of the prison wall. So this lady that was in the age of 18, she was living with her mother-in-law because her husband was in Iran for working, and then she has been harassed for a long time with a neighbor, with a man. But one night this man came to rape her, and the the younger, and the mother-in-law was like, it was a self-defense, but in somehow it happened that the guy, that attacker, died. But then both of them get jail for 20 years. And that's really sad that in this situation you even cannot like defend your own rights, because if even though they didn't do anything and they have been raped, they ended up into the prison. So
yeah, I'm going to show some pictures of the prison situation so that you get an idea of, yes. Okay, do you see my images there? I hope so, because I can't hear. This is the, okay, wait a minute, I'm going to take it down again, just to make sure. Do you see my images?
I was muted, but I did see them, yes.
Okay, very good. Okay, then it's working. I'm fine. Here we go. Okay. This is the prison in Herat. And the situation is, as you can see, these are the women. One of the things that I appreciate is the fact that they're all wearing their own clothing, which does not have the same kind of dehumanizing effect that prisons in the United States have. They live in much nicer situations than they did 10 years ago when the foreign organizations started to come in and help. But as you see, this is not something that you would want to look at every single day. And of course, the children are with them, which is also, I think, a good idea, something that we should have here. They do have some programs. Here they're doing rug making, and they also do tailoring, which are very good. This is not a situation for children to grow up in. They are limited from the outside. And if you could add some information to this, Monira, because you know the situation, please.
yes, it's really sad because nobody is going to take care of the children before 7, so they had to stay with their mother in the prison. But then after that, they had to leave the prison and stay with the family of the like the father. So in that case, nobody really take care of them, and they really follow or carry the story of the mother that ended up to the prison. So nobody really behaved properly with these kids, and wherever they stay, they had to work. They have no equal rights with the other kids. They are not going to like go to school. They have no education, and they have to work from the 7-year-old for the family to let them to live with them.
Yeah. They're stigmatized for the rest of their lives, really. There's no way, as are the women, they're stigmatized forever. This is us performing in the women's prison in Kabul, which is a much larger prison. Well, not much larger. Herat is pretty significantly
Actually,
large.
Kabul is larger. In Herat, there are like 169 prisoners, women prisons, and in Kabul, it's like 230. But maybe it has increased with the number.
And you can see from this image that the girls in the show are playing the male parts. And this girl here, Tamina, in the middle, was playing the man. She was very good. You know, you give women the opportunity to play a male part, and they're scarily good because they really know what the abusive husband is like. And this is part of this theater program, giving them a voice. This is the women's prison in Kunduz, which is a very small women's prison, but nonetheless a performance for those women. Again, the first time they've ever seen anything like this. But and this is back to Herat again. I think that the most important thing here is that the program gives women a voice. What we're going to be doing here is having them doing these theater programs where they can create their own plays. And we're very good at this now. Getting it down to a formula where we train them how to present themselves, which is getting over some huge barriers because, you know, the women are trained to be very soft and quiet and don't look up, don't keep eye contact. And just getting them to stand up straight and speak out and be able to speak your mind is such a huge relief and so empowering. And then we have them learn how to tell their stories and get them to open up to tell their stories and then act them out for each other. And this is really giving them a voice where they did not have a voice before. It's so empowering and so important. And I think the question is, well, they're just going to be performing for each other. There's no access to the outside world. But this is so incredibly important because the whole structure of the prison, as you know, just from prisons here, it's hierarchical. There's a lot of backbiting. There's a lot of gossip. And this helps relieve those tensions that build up of having nothing to do in a very competitive environment. And it allows them to have more camaraderie, more understanding of what each woman had to go through. They help tell each other stories. They take a part in their stories. Like one might play the abusive husband, and one play the mother-in-law, and one play the daughter. It helps them really feel what it's like to be in the other person's shoes. So I think that relieves a lot. If there's questions about this, I'd love to answer questions, and Monira also, having been in the situation for visited.
Joanna, thank you so much. And Munira, thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. I do have a question. When you are working on the creative process, what cultural traditions are you working with? Do the women have familiarity to maybe folk dancing, singing, all that's part of it? Are you pulling all those cultural traditions into these performances?
Well, the body of training that we do covers a wide terrain of physical, emotional, acting techniques that we've gathered from around the world. And when they create their plays, they do what's appropriate for them. So we noticed that in Herat, they were much more adventurous. You saw the picture of the girls performing, and they're dressed in colorful costumes, and they were performing. They were a little bit more adventurous in Herat. That's Monira's group. They were great. In Jalalabad, they're much more conservative, and so they would not do any dancing, any kind of a movement that's untoward. So the women set their own boundaries. We're giving them tools, and then when they create the show, they create it within their own story, told in the way they want to tell the story.
I understand that you're working within the constraints of Afghanistan society, but do you hope that at some point this might move into like a street theater kind of performance? So many countries in Asia have street performances. Maybe one day. I still have hope that maybe the 7-year-old boys might be paying attention because you're not allowed to present in front of anybody who's above that age, correct? Male or female? Female perhaps, but not male.
Actually, this has started recently in Kabul. I just saw a street performance, a few days ago in Kabul, that these ladies came out because there was more group of people who were traveling. They have been killed by Taliban. So then they made a street performance for them because one of them was a woman and a child. So that was really interesting to see this. The women are coming out. Of course, there are problems for them, and after that they will face a lot. But they have this courage to go out and stand for their rights and tell their stories, support each other.
This is something that comes up every now and then. People ask me, aren't you putting, we've worked with a lot of all-women's groups now. We started a lot of all-women's groups in Afghanistan, 6 altogether. So, and this is something new, so to see them become so bold is very encouraging. Yeah. But sometimes people ask me, but aren't you putting these women in danger? And, I remind them that it was only 100 years ago that we got the right to vote. Women can vote in Afghanistan. We only got that 100 years ago, and we had to fight. And around the world, women do have to fight for their rights. And yes, they put themselves in jeopardy to a certain degree, as any woman who speaks out. And Monira can vouch for this because she's one of the many people that have had to flee due to real threats over a concerted period of time, real physical threats and threats to the family. So yes, it's part of the course. they will decide, and they always say, and both the men and the women say this in the groups, yes, we're putting ourselves in danger by doing this, but we want to make Afghanistan better. It's the only way.
Yes. Munira, thank you so much for being so brave. Here's another question. Can either of you address what happens to the women when they leave the prison? Is there any form of reintegration that you have seen and followed and you can tell us about?
Yeah. I'll mention the shelters. You know, we did a lot of work in the shelters as well, and that is a kind of a place that women sometimes have to go when they leave. They're not safe to go back to their families in many cases, and you might extrapolate on that a little bit. But they do have some shelters, not enough. And of course, what happens to the children, because there's not enough orphanages for them too. So if you could speak about that, what happens to the women and the children.
Actually, the children mostly ended up to the orphanages, or they ended up to live with a family member of the father. But then for the women, because it's really hard, the both family, they never accept them. So either they go back and live in the shelters, or they live alone. I mean, it's really hard to find a life. I mean, a single woman, create a good life for them in Afghan society. So that's very hard. Nobody really understands. But I myself followed a story of a woman who have been also like in the prison because of having relation over marriage. But when she get out of the prison, unfortunately, the guy didn't agree to marry her. So she had to go and stay in the shelters. But after a while, because it gets safe, because the family trying to kill her because of all these honor issues. So she had to go to Kabul, and that was not safe. So finally, she moved to Sweden. So this is their story. I mean, they try to make their own life, but it's really hard in these cases because this honor issue is really important in Afghanistan. And the family thinks you will get back your honor when you kill that person that dishonored you. So then you can be again honored in the society, accepted by your relatives.
So some women actually want to stay in the prison.
Yes.
And you know, in our view of this theater program, I see it's going to be an ongoing program because some will leave and some will stay, and those that will stay can keep this program going, and they will be the instructors, and they'll be the ones to keep the program growing, like a drama club within the prison. And then as newcomers come in, they can pass on these techniques and help each other out, and some will become really better, and some will be more the trainers. So, you know, out of 150 women, I'm sure that this is going to be very successful in getting a good group of women. You know, they're always shy when they start out. And, you know, it's like, oh, well, I'll just watch. I'll just stand by the sidelines and watch. And then, like, the second day, maybe they'll, like, a couple will join in. Then the third day. And once they see that they're having so much fun, then they all start to join in. So I'm sure it's going to really catch on.
Yeah, what I do believe that these women that ended up in the prison, they were really the brave women that they stand up for their rights, whatever it was. So they try to defend themselves, defend their rights. That's why the family of the husband or their own family put them in a situation that they are dishonored. That's not because they really stand against all those practices that really hurt them. So they just need a kind of support, a program that they can raise up their skills, their confidence, and to themselves to not believe that there are really people did a crime that they never did. So I'm sure that this program will help them in many ways, and that will be very useful, of course.
That's a good point. You know, when you're beaten down, you just don't see that your life is any value. If your own mother and father are saying, look, I'm sorry, we have to kill you, you just must feel like you have no value at all. So to get them to understand that they're the same person that they were, and that they have value, and they have something to say to the world, and giving them that opportunity is just mind-changing.
I don't know if there's a time, but I just want to mention briefly that recently there was a young, just 10 years old girl that had been raped by a mullah in a mosque.
Yes.
And then the family of the girl trying to kill her because they said this is a dishonor, and the mullah claimed that the girl actually wanted to have a relation with him. So the family is trying to kill him. The government do not take any protection, and they give her to the family. So there are lots of organizations working for women's rights. They are trying to like keep her in a safe place, and this is the issue. And even though the mother, when she was in the hospital, there were lots of these people, like women who are working in the society. They were there. That the mother said, "I'm really sorry. That the ground will relieve you." So it does mean that when we are trying to kill you, I mean, you will never relieve until you die. So this is the most like important issue or sad issues nowadays, that everybody trying to save this 10 years old girl.
Yeah, yeah. And if you see a picture of her, you can see she's just a child. I mean, really a little skinny child. She weighs 40 pounds. It's just a tiny girl. So it's just...
Well, Joanna, Monica, thank you so much. It is so wonderful to have been speaking to both of you. I am sure that the members of Dining for Women will be very interested and may even want to follow up with either one or both of you. So we wish you a lot of luck. And for everybody listening in, this is the end of our Google Hangout. You can access this from the Dining for Women website and our YouTube account, Dining for Women Events. Please join us again next time when we will be speaking to the Nayaka AIDS Orphan Group, which is a group that works with grandmothers in Uganda. Thank you for everybody for being with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, all you Dining for Women.